welcome everybody, the incredible composer and our good longtime friend Lillian Boyd.
Quickly!
Okay.
This is going very well.
Wait,
Hello, Lillian.
Hello. Hi. Wait, am I on?
You're on
Yes,
now.
yes,
Can
indeed.
you hear us?
Oh, very good. Yes, I can hear you. I can. Oh God, I can see myself. The absolute horror of this. Hi, how's it going?
Have you done that thing where you have like stream open and this open and you're seeing yourself in like 4-second delay and it's very...
Oh, I did. It's like it's like a Lynchian nightmare where like I can see the imagination of myself on a Twitch stream, but then I can see myself in this, and I sort of look like something scraped up from under the couch. How's it going, folks?
And that will now be what I think of every single time I'm looking at the 4-second delay of myself.
So you've already had a request for information about your glasses, which have one of these immediate
because they are
amazing.
amazing.
Oh, these glasses. Yeah, honestly, what it is, Zenny Optical is great because I'm broke, and Zenny Optical is a website it's like the Spirit Airlines of eyewear. Like when you sign up for it, you always feel vaguely like you get them, and you don't totally believe that when you get them they're going to be real glasses, but they totally are. And these, I feel like I'm slowly turning into the receptionist from Monsters Incorporated, which is honestly the most aspirational form I can.
You're aspiring to. Yes, exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah, completely. I've known you guys. I remember one of my favorite things was in Dublin, getting to hang out during Worldcon. Like that was honestly one of those experiences where the entire time it felt like an out-of-body experience being in Dublin.
Yes.
Yeah, Dublin was an experience, was it not?
Now might be a good time to tell you that the last time I was in Dublin, prior to sharing my life with you, in fact, I was dressed as a gangster.
You went for a stag do.
It was a very, very confusing evening because a friend of a friend was getting married to a gentleman who was a low-level Liberal Democrat at that point.
I thought you were about to say mobster. I was really hoping for like a Godfather situation.
Well, the difference between mobster and low-level Liberal Democrat is probably not that far.
The Liberal Democrats probably got better tofu recipes, but that's about it. But for some mystifying reason, he decided that the stag night should be gangster-themed. So all the guys are like, great, Dublin in June, and you're putting us in 3-piece suits. Thanks, Adam, you prick. But, we abide. And
abide is the perfect choice of vocabulary there.
We all get dressed up, and I swear I have never been more kind of God, I hate having to stand with you, because we showed up at a strip joint and we had a 10-minute discussion at the doorway as to whether the £25 cover was something we wanted to do, and he was like, "Well,
£25,
right?" And then
euros.
Euros.
Yeah.
So, and there were like 7 of us, so they were going to get a lot of money out of us for, in my case, a Pepsi and some guilt. So,
just like a sort of awkward conciliatory wave if someone asks for a table dance, and you're like, "No, thank you. I appreciate it, though. Thank you." Like,
I'm just trying to picture a strip club in Dublin.
All I can think of is that moment from 30 Rock when Liz puts the $50 bill in the stripper's garter and yells, "That's for computer lessons!" Yeah.
Yeah, that's honestly, I remember, specific gangster-wise, when I went to my prom when I was a senior in high school, it was funny because for some reason I had decided at that time, when you're 18 years old and dumber than dog shit, and you think to yourself...
so, yes.
Yeah, I'm still there. And I was sort of like, well, I reckon I should wear a zoot suit to prom. Like, that's just really... The problem is that I really liked The Mask with Jim Carrey when I was knee-high to a duck's ass, and kind of decided, like, oh, clearly zoot suits are the fucking height of fashion when you're 18. And anytime that I look back on a photo of it, it's also incredible because I had the Nikki Sixx from Motley Crue, like, vertical eyebrow goatee, which fantastic at that age. I'm realizing now, like, honestly, after coming out as trans, I'm realizing how much of my earlier presentation was just like a burlesque of what I thought dudes were supposed to look like.
This was my steampunk phase. This was my Frosted Tips stage.
I hope you like my ghoulish pantomime. I brought a boutonniere, and it was promise. Yeah, a good time for everyone.
See, I even then, I love that your definition of acting out on fashion mistake is zoot suit, which I look at and go, that's fucking awesome. Whereas
fuck yeah.
Whereas mine was
because they can be ridiculous colors,
Right.
right? It's one of the few occasions in traditional menswear where you're expected to like go hog wild with color.
Whereas at that exact period in my life, the only thing my brain had was mullet. Thanks.
Oh yeah, yeah. I did definitely when I was about 6 years old in the early '90s. I had decided that rat tails were actually the height of hair styles, and so it was funny because I had this big fucking shitty rat tail that basically, acid wash jean jacket. I wasn't here to fuck around. And my dad's friends just kept doing this thing where I visited him for the summer, and all of his friends were just like, "Mer," and they would yank it anytime I walked by. And I think they honestly did me a favor because I just lopped the fucking thing off because I was tired of getting my head yanked. And in retrospect, God bless you, gentlemen. Like that was what they should have been doing with this tiny rat tail.
I have always considered that the Padawan learning braid is actually just a means of channeling Jedi aggression. Where, after 10 years of it, you're just like, if one more motherfucker touches my hair, I'm gonna go full dark.
I'm gonna put some Color Me Bad on my Walkman. I'm gonna get my Padawan rat tail going, and then they'll fucking see. I'll show them what it's like.
We may have watched like the 3rd episode of Obi-Wan last night. Where it was like, wow, Anakin has some issues and always has, huh? Very much.
Anakin Skywalker, messy bitch who loves drama, and the entire universe pays for it.
True. Yeah, I'm a little bitch, and it's everyone's problem. Honestly, I think my favorite bit from Revenge of the Sith is when, Obi-Wan's doing his big "like you were the chosen one" speech, and then you just get him turning into a barbecue chip, going, "I hate you," which is just like. That's my internal monologue like 24/7 while doing anything that's not working. So it's very relatable, I feel, a crispy Anakin Skywalker.
You've broken us.
Oh.
Gosh. How do I segue that onto talking about your background in musical composition?
Oh, well,
so Star Wars has music in it.
Okay, yes.
And,
a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, and you do music good.
How? Thank you. I try.
How
honestly,
music good do?
How music good do to make and to be like is,
yes.
I think, a question that many people have considered. Honestly, like with Star Wars, first of all, musically, the thing a tip for
the chat has asked to see your mug.
I knew it.
We knew it. Okay, it's been
This is minutes. Okay. So this is my my fancy ceramic skull mug. Harder than you would think to find a good skull mug, because like if you Google good skull mug, it's always some fucking fly-by-night shit heel trying to offload, whatever sort of plastic nonsense they were able to get at, Halloween Fright Nights. Side note, I have a Halloween Fright Night plastic mug. But this one is from West Elm that my partner found online. And it's, I had 2 of them, and one of them was sitting on, I no longer leave them out on the counter because my fat orange cat, Bert, who is a little bastard man, just knocked the other one off the counter. I hear a noise like God punching through a window. I run in and I just see his orange face just going at me from the counter when I walked in after he shattered my mug. He was confused about why. I was like, "Wow, why did you do it?" And he's just like, "I just made a cool sound. I don't know what the fuck your problem is." So this was from their Halloween collection. So it's I've got too many skull things, and
no such thing.
The logical conclusion. So yeah, I do. I've got to maintain it. But yeah, no, musically, a tip for everybody at home: if you're looking for an interval of a perfect fifth in music, the mnemonic I always use is the Star Wars theme, which is the first 2 notes off top. Da da.
Yeah.
That is an interval of a perfect fifth, which is always my cheat to figure that out. Musically, the thing is, I'm kind of a jack of all trades with music. I've been playing guitar since I was 14 with various levels of success. And it was funny because the first song I ever learned how to play on guitar was Higher by Creed, which tells you that I learned how to play guitar in 2002.
Yeah.
But yeah, completely. You know what though? I'm gonna right now cut a promo. The song "What If" by Creed kind of kicks ass. It's on the Scream 3, a weird tie-in video. It's got a great fucking the guitar in it is very good. Go check out What If I Agreed. But yeah, no, musically, the problem is that I've known I once dated a composer who he was like he's like an actual proper. He also sings what do you call it? Opera. He's really, really good. I've known a lot of music majors in my life, and I have a huge inferiority complex about it because I don't really know what I'm doing with music, but I kind of put a bunch of notes on a piano roll and just sort of hope for the best. And what it is that I'm kind of good at bullshitting my way through things just enough that it's justified my entirely unearned sense of confidence that I can do things. Which is how I got. Actually, hold on. For those on the stream, I'm going to grab my guitar to illustrate a point about why I am a complete
musical instruments joining us at some point.
This is this is my guitar.
Look at that
you will note
strap!
It has a Floyd Rose tremolo system, which is this fancy thing here. And this is not like other tremolos. When I got that guitar, I had thought to myself, I bet I know how to do this thing. I did not. And I had looked, and it was funny because the guy at the guitar shop, after I tried switching the strings and like fixing the tremolo and like setting the guitar up, I completely boned it. The thing was a fucking, a milk carton by the time I, finished making a hash of it. And I brought it to the guitar shop. And the guy who was, picture a dad-shaped being, and that was this guy at the guitar shop. And I brought in my little Ibanez Gem Jr. and was just like, I tried setting up this tremolo, but I think I'd work it. And the guy sort of, he looked at it coolly for a moment and then looked back at me and went, "You looked at some YouTube videos, huh?" I was like, yeah. So he completely had my number. He saved my ass and fixed the thing. But musically, I kind of make it up as I go along. I did get to, I had such a fun time working on The Witching Hour with, honestly, Marguerite. Right now, I need to point out, the three of us have been in the shit together.
Multiple times, absolutely.
And it just an absolute delight doing it because it was, this was doing the sound design for the thing and making. I had to make longtime listeners of Escape Pod will of course recognize "Bloodletting on a Kiss," which is that great, sort of goth industrial intro. And
the intro.
Yeah, from Pseudopod. And Marguerite's prompt was like, "Can you do this song but as like an early '90s kind of Arsenio Hall talk show?"
Right, like if there was a crap SNL intro of "Bloodletting on the Kiss." What would that sound like? Like, there must be saxophone.
Oh, so much saxophone. And honestly, I think that's the only way that I've gotten better at music is taking on projects that are way too ambitious for me that I need to sort of... Last Minute Panic is a wonderful motivator.
True, totally. So, you said you started playing guitar at 14. Did you, do music in school? All of my mom's generation were all heavy duty choir people. My aunts and uncles have toured internationally with choirs. And we are all Catholic, so boy do we rock a church choir.
Machi. That's like advanced Christian as being Catholic.
It's
brown belt at the very least. Probably first, second, damn black.
Scale applies here. My mom is one of 6 and my grandfather is one of 12. My mother has 56 first cousins and our family reunions were 300 people in driving distance. We didn't descend on the local church. The priest came to us because it was just too much. So, but when you have 200 plus people who all sing, we do our own full mass. It's not a problem. We can handle that. But all of
200 people who all sing sounds like a threat. That's we're gonna fucking roll up on this place. 200 people, they can all sing. This is
it's like one of those a cappella face-off things where you slow motion walk in and you're just get out of my way.
A quick sidebar: when I first met Marguerite's late and much missed grandma, I was acutely aware of the fact that I cannot carry a tune in a bucket. I was coming into a family that were kind of the Von Trapps, but folksy. So
there was plenty of the folksy, trust me.
So I was
Intensely, we can do folksy. You want folksy? Like, this is...
My
folksy,
family could freaking invade Liechtenstein and hold it, right? Between the choir on one side and all of the mechanics on the other, forget it. We could just take over. This is ours now.
I baked a cake.
Oh, yeah.
Smartest way to do it.
He went full British. He rocked up to my grandmother with a Victoria sponge cake.
I can actually see the A+ form above her head.
Yes.
Oh, sweetie, come in.
Yeah, this is like playing a Telltale game, and it's like, she'll remember this. Where it's like, yes, all right, Victoria cake, excellent.
Yes, he went full British. It was adorable. But what I was saying is, but all of my generation, we all play instruments. So like, like I'm a percussionist. So music has always been like one of those cornerstones of my life, and like I did band and choir and marching band and orchestras and like all of that, and then you know, you get into full-time employment and your time just like disappears and there it goes. Was that past similar for you, or were you just like, I'm just never gonna it's just always gonna be a hobby?
Well, comically, so the stuff that I've done with guitar is that I did 2 different things in high school, and the first one was that I played guitar in my church's worship band, the praise and worship band, at a couple of different churches. No joke, I was actually planning to become a youth pastor when I was a teenager. Like, I was...
it's okay. We've all been there. Did we all have the same moment? That's my question. Do we all go, okay, I need a smidgen of proof here, and then I will double down, and then that proof never showed up and we all bounced?
Oh, this is actually, I think mine was a little bit lazier. Mine was, I went to college, woke up one Sunday, realized I could stay in, and it was game over. Like, the moment I realized I can... Buddy, I can sit at home and watch horror movies and like drink Slurpees, and I don't actually have to go to church. Like, it was, you know, toast. And honestly, playing guitar in a worship band was fun because I've realized like the great experience about that was when you're playing, there's always that one, and I'm sure people who are either churchy folk or previously churchy folk will know this feeling where there's this one guy at the worship service who's like a little too into it. He's like going for it a little bit too much with the, you know, he's like running laps for Christ, and you're like, I'm trying to play a song here.
Tambourine.
Oh yeah. Oh, the moment the tambourine comes out, it's all over. And you know, you sort of that guy that everybody around him is kind of like, you know, they're doing the sort of, you know, the moves and stuff, and they're kind of like, can you pipe down, please? Like, we didn't come here to see you. Like, we're, you know. So I did that. And I also played guitar in a Metallica cover band called Metal Militia, named after the worst song on Kill 'Em All by Metallica.
Nice.
So mostly, like, I've played a couple, like in college, I played a couple of bar gigs doing, listen to me, if you play bar gigs in Tennessee, you will learn to hate the song Wagon Wheel by Old Crow Medicine Show. Because I used to like that song, and then I played a couple of bars, and it's, you know that bit from that Eurovision movie that they made with Will Ferrell, where there's that one guy screaming like, play Ya Ya Ding Dong, and that's everybody in a bar with fucking Wagon Wheel. So yeah, like I've always been sort of a you know, jack of all trades with guitar. I hadn't played it for years and years, and then at the start of the pandemic, my partner Sarah got me a little acoustic guitar. And I kind of fell in love with it again because for me, like I hadn't played in years, and it was just such a nice fucking thing to just like, you know, have a thing that I hadn't monetized.
Exactly.
Because obviously
that's exactly it, right? You've got to have a hobby that you have no realistic expectation of turning into money.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like and just like being able to sit down and play my little songs at the start of the pandemic was just so wonderful. And then it kind of spiraled from there, and I got a couple more guitars.
It's like microphones, right? You start with one, and then you're like, I could use another one, and it's really a pain to keep unplugging this. Maybe we should just get another one for over there. And yeah. So you're like that with guitars, it looks like.
Well, and honestly, like one of the other fun things that kind of dovetailed with is that another of my many side hustles I do is that I make podcast themes for people, and there's something really like fun and wonderful about crafting. It has to be 30 seconds.
Yep.
And you have to hit a vibe, and you have to sort of have the little melody, do a little variation on it of a kind, and then do a little, sort of blending in bit. And it's like just making these little miniatures that honestly, it's just, I think that forces me not to noodle with stuff, because I can noodle endlessly for days. And it's purgatory that no one can escape from. And so making podcast themes.
A little while ago about apparently the Microsoft sound, that dun 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 dun, was composed by Brian Eno. And apparently he made thousands of variations. He got really down the rabbit hole of how much emotional impact he could deliver in 3 seconds. And so I love the idea that that's what you've done. That is your 30-second rabbit hole, is podcast themes. And if folks, if you haven't been to Lillian's, I'm going to see if I can put the link in here, SoundCloud, there's so much good stuff on it. Now, who else have you composed for? Because you did Rank and Vials.
Oh, I've done Rank and Vile, Kingcast, the Stephen King podcast. They've got this side podcast on their Patreon called Shelbyville, which is a role-playing game thing that's like set in like a Steven Universe kind of Castle Rock situation.
Nice.
And they needed something Tales from the Crypt adjacent for the intro, and so I did a bunch of stuff for them. Sword and Board I've done stuff for. I think one of my favorite things was there's a podcast that my buddy Luke does called Hanksy Panksy, which, first of all, lol. Second of all, it sort of covers Tom Hanks movies. And God. I, had to make a theme for it that used a French horn and samples of Tom Hanks in it, and just like slicing up Tom Hanks's stuff in Fruity Loops. I use Fruity Loops because I'm a 16-year-old. But yeah, I honestly doing that, so much fun. I love, honestly, going back to Brian Eno though, because I'm a huge Brian Eno nerd. I think one of my favorite things from Brian Eno that I think about every goddamn day of my life is Brian Eno talking about how the limitations of a medium are going to become the hallmark of it, that people are going to painstakingly reconstruct the moment that medium improves itself, and you don't have to do that anymore. So the shit sound of chip tunes or 8-bit, VHS, scramblies, all of that stuff, retro nerds are in love with that stuff. And I love so much, the way that he talks about the fact that even guitar distortion, the cool guitar sound, is the sound of that's a sound too big for the vessel containing it. That's a sound that shouldn't be that loud coming through a speaker, which creates the distortion. And so I think a lot about that thing of the limitations of the thing you're doing being the thing that are going to define it, that you should, kind of focus on.
Well, the idea of instantly recognizable stuff is really having a resurgence right now. Okay, so every morning when we get up right now, before we even get out of bed, we play Hurdle. Do you know what Hurdle is? Okay, and I have 4 of them. I have 70s, 80s, 90s, and modern. And we do them all.
Fantastic.
Because I just love, you feel so good when you can recognize a song by that first 2 seconds. And then you start to realize and get so frustrated about how radio editing has really ruined your life, about how many songs have just completely different openings than the versions of them that we're used to. Or hearing an iconic sample and then having to sit there and think, okay, which sample in which version of this song is this one actually from?
That was the thing that drove me. That was the thing that drove me crazy back in the day. Was when I would tape songs. Growing up in suburban Chicago, Schaumburg, the worst town in the world. And that we had this local radio station called Q101. It wasn't local to Schaumburg; it was Chicago. But Q101 was the alternative radio station. And as a burgeoning little doom cookie, I was taping songs off of the radio onto my little cassette. And the problem was always the DJ coming in on the outro of the song.
Right, exactly.
Yakking about some competition they're going to be doing for a free, something or other. And, you just breaks your heart. You're just trying to get a sound. And yeah.
I have a very, very vivid memory of spending my late teens. I called it deep sea fishing, where I knew a Faith No More song would be played across 1 hour on Radio 1. So I hit record at the top of the hour, and I just kind of hoped. And I think one time in 10, it was actually played start to finish without. And coming up next, someone who'll be part of Operation U-Tree in 30 years' time.
Oh yeah. Side note: somebody we've got Probs Not Hawkeye in the chat. Schaumburg, Illinois, represent. It's like its own universe growing up in the suburbs of Chicago. But honestly, I think it's one of my favorite speculative settings that you kind of can't do now, like set in 2022. But I love anything speculative where it's like an all-night DJ. Or,
my God, is that not the perfect horror movie segue?
Perfect.
Pontypool. And what's the other one based in San Francisco that you love? The late night vampire one.
It's Midnight Caller, but it doesn't have vampires in it.
No, there's a Midnight Caller's another one, but there is one that's also like it's a woman and her name is Kitty and she's a late night DJ.
Those
and she also fights
Harry Vaughan novels.
They're novels. Oh, I thought there was a TV show.
No, they're novels, and you're almost done with the Patricia Briggs novels, and she's a werewolf. I'll just leave that there. Let's move on.
It's like Wolfman Jack was a DJ, and it's the logical conclusion. I think is Werewolf DJ. Honestly, like Pontypool. This is my thing. Is I think Caroline Williams as Stretch in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 for me is like the gold standard in like horror movie DJ. But I think it's one of my favorite settings for a thing because it's like the idea of being up all night and now of course being anytime that I have insomnia, which I've had insomnia since I was a kid. But anytime that I can have, something to entertain me, because now I've got the internet and I can like look at the IMDb trivia page for like Mighty Ducks 2 at any hour of the goddamn night, and I shouldn't have that power. Like I shouldn't be able to use the internet to do things. But in the pre-internet time, that made total sense that you would just have some weirdo at a radio station doing an all-night thing. And I feel like now that you can't have that, it's again the limitations of the medium kind of thing that. It makes me fonder of it that we don't have that anymore. And
those were very, very early, like, parasocial sort of relationships because, like, people who were on night shifts or who were night owls had, like, privileged access to this whole stream of content that no one else could get into. And you had the ability to, like, dial in and have conversations and all of that.
And that was the other type of deep sea fishing I did. Channel 4 over here was always the cool channel. And they did a stream, they did a stream called 4 Later, which was basically, this is going to be students and insomniacs and truck drivers. Go hog wild. And they had a fantastic...
We got 6 hours to fill.
Let's go.
Fill your boots.
It's going to be Fist of the North. They had a fantastic...
Guys, side note, I just got a message from Wendy Reynolds through my website. Apparently, the SoundCloud is soundcloud.com/Lillian Boyd and not soundcloud.com/HereLiesLil, which is my rotten Twitter account.
Right. So I fixed it on the stream, but it's broken in your link tree.
Oh, well then we are all God's fools now. So just look at my Twitter. You'll find my stuff.
Don't worry about it.
But that whole kind of late night culture thing and connecting with things which make you feel like you're connected. There is a terrible cult film video review show called Vids, which is probably all over YouTube, run by a large laconic Scots gentleman called Steph and a tiny Welsh rage monkey called Nige. And
I am definitely watching this after
this
stream.
I just so good. It was literally these two people. Vids. These two people in a dodgy Shaw Brothers Kung Fu movies, obscure German documentaries, and yelling about biscuits.
Of course.
And
so the three genders.
That is so like tonight's gender yelling about biscuits.
And a ridiculous amount of literal decades later at this point, the episode where Nigel also plays his evil cousin Lingus, who they ultimately kill and throw in a taxi so that he doesn't have to be there. The episode finishes with Nige bouncing up and down going, he's gone. I miss him, Steph. And I have a friend who 2.5 decades and counting later will still DM me in the middle of the night and go, taxi for Lingus! Lingus has to go now. So that whole kind of, you find the culture that speaks to you. I get that. Get that.
Oh, man. Well, and it's funny because especially with, not to sound, like I'm 90,000 years old, but that's one of the things I like about, the internet and podcasts especially is that This is, I think, the way that we're able to kind of do that now, because, like doing, I do a horror podcast called Rank and Vile, where we're, we talk about horror movies, and I think the fact that, oh, you're the best. By the way, guys, anybody watching the stream, Alasdair's episode, we talked about the movie Split Second with Rutger Hauer. That episode was the fucking greatest. That movie is the greatest. It is the weirdest fucking thing. That movie,
Steph
every time I watch it,
I have a little Wikipedia page, apparently.
Oh.
Sorry,
oh, that's more important.
Seriously contemplate our kickoff question being, Lillian, what is the best horror movie and why is it Split Second?
I mean, it is though. Like that. Oh, it's so good. But I mean, like that's the fact that you can make a little podcast and put it out there, and that somebody you've never met at 3 a.m. when they're trying not to go insane, or they're working at a gas station or doing whatever, can just hear about a little conversation you had with your friend. Like, I don't know. It's one of those things that makes me feel good about being a human being, that we just want to sit and hear people talking in little rooms. Yeah. Which is not so different from having a late night. I mean, that's what we're.
That's literally what we're doing now. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's like mainly what I care about, is talking in little rooms with my friends. Like, this is
we've reached the stage of late stage capitalism where now we have to concoct attempts to monetize it in order to actually prioritize it.
It's a pretty half-assed attempt to monetize it, in fairness.
Yeah.
But you can't just get together and hang around with your friends anymore. It's got to be, we're going to play this game because we're going to stream it. Or it's going to be, we got to record for the podcast, right?
Casper
and also... Oh, yeah. Listen, HelloFresh. The thing is, especially because I've got pretty bad, social anxiety, and I, had since I, was very young. But the great thing about doing, a podcast or hanging out with your friends on a Twitch stream or whatever, when I was really young, that really helped me relate to my peers in any way, was being able to like sit and play, GoldenEye 007 or whatever, and have a thing that's sort of the conceit of the thing, right? So instead of, if you're a kid, sitting and facing your peer and trying to have a conversation is just a fucking nightmare dimension.
Jesus, yes.
Yeah, that's some Hellraiser shit. But, if you have something that you can, have in place where it's like, all right, we can play Castlevania or whatever, but have a conversation about other stuff while doing that. I think that's one of the reasons I love podcasts so much, is because you get to hear people talk about all kinds of stuff while talking ostensibly about the thing they're supposed to be talking about.
Yeah, I totally get that. And it's really interesting to me that idea, the idea of something to distract you from the social anxiety, is something which has really kind of resurfaced across the last couple of years.
Gee, I wonder why.
I mean, obviously.
Yeah.
But I find I spend a lot of my time living as I do on Normal Island, looking for anything that's good, and being able to go, this is actually a good and wholesome means of interacting with people socially. And Elon Musk hasn't bought it yet.
Well, yeah, it remains free from his grasping emerald-soaked fingers. This is also, I think, one of the other things that I love about horror so much is that, as y'all are completely aware, like the horror around Pseudopod, like the horror community, I feel like it's very polarized for me, because it's like 90% of the horror community is the best fucking people, right? Just like, wonderful, wonderful people. And then there's like 10% of it that's just like something that crawled out from under a rock in hell, and we desperately need to, sort of, get away from them. But in terms of community, I think that's one of the reasons horror is so like enduring, is that sense of community. Like, look, every Saw movie that comes out until the day I sink to hell, I'm going to go watch, because I've already watched all the other fucking Saw movies, because horror fans, this is what we do, is we're kind of like, well, as, any other movie that I might otherwise not, because like, Joe Sports Bar, who doesn't watch horror movies, isn't coming in off the street going like, Freddy versus Jason. Well, I don't know what that is, but I guess I'll sit down and watch it for, an hour and a half.
And meanwhile, we will watch whatever schlock they will make accessible to us.
And speaking of schlock, I actually
segue.
I actually have two questions I've been meaning to ask you. Well, actually, first a thank you. A couple of years ago, I saw a clip on Twitter of a character being thrown into a wall which smash cuts to a door being opened, and it looks like they're being thrown into the wall and then just morph into the door. And I had
that is from Saw 5.
Yes.
Yep.
And I knew you would know. You were like my first port of call. And
oh man,
back me up on that, and I never forgot that.
That movie is fucking buck wild because it's almost like it was like directed by committee, where like every scene it was like they just like, hey, Jim the PA, come in here.
Insurers. Got that.
Yeah, where I was like, how should we transition this scene? And it's like they literally set up a breakout wall next to the set of the next scene and had somebody go blah, like you're playing fucking Yakuza 0 and like throwing somebody through a door. It's completely nuts. But yeah. So that was Saw 5 when the series. I mean, it's not a good series, but it's of all the series there have been, it's certainly one of them.
It's certainly one of them.
It is certainly
also,
one of them.
the thing which I wanted you to, I was hoping you could confirm for me. You will know this. Is it true that at one point Freddy vs. Jason was a courtroom drama?
What?
Yes, it was. There is actually okay. So check this shit out, right? So if you look it up online, there, especially in the '90s when Freddy vs. Jason it's like the platonic ideal of development hell movies, because when Freddy, when Nightmare on Elm Street dropped in 1984, pretty much the next year, everybody was, and Robert Englund loves talking about this, where he's like, you get guys coming up to conventions like, so like, do you think that Freddy could totally beat up Jason? And it's like this sort of, macho thing that everybody does, where it's like, which brother on Bonanza could beat up, which brother? It's,
Superman
sort of
versus Batman, the classic.
It's always.
Yeah. And so everybody took a crack at Freddy versus Jason back in the day, script doctors and stuff. And one of them was a courtroom drama where you've got Jason Voorhees standing trial, and all of his it's like, just a big fucking scroll of like, all right, well, Jason Voorhees has done some murdering, and and you've got a lawyer character trying to talk about it. My favorite thing actually is that Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare, which was the 6th one, and I stand Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare. A lot of people hate that movie, but it was 100% Rachel Talalay self-destructing this fucking franchise, where it's like Freddy Krueger is basically Bugs Bunny. All ideas are good ideas, and the first draft of a script for this thing was actually from Peter Jackson, who did Lord of the Rings, and he was which there's a New Line Cinema connection, but his script for Freddy's Dead was that. It takes place in the future, and Freddy is kind of a joke at this point. Like, teenagers will literally take drugs to fall asleep so that they can go to Dreamland and kick the shit out of Freddy Krueger, who's like, he can't defend himself. And then he eventually, and so my favorite thing is like Nightmare on Elm Street adaptations that almost happened, because there have been just all manner of things. Side note, are you aware of the Jurassic Park script where there are human dinosaur hybrids?
Yes.
I pine for what could have been, Alasdair. Like, it could have been so good.
Somebody really liked Alien 4. That's what that says.
These are the dinosaur human hybrids, which were going to be led by David Boreanaz and his entire forehead. And,
God bless.
Right? And didn't they all have names of famous Greek generals? Like there was a velociraptor called Achilles or something?
Alasdair, I love you. Yes. There was like Caesar. It was an entire thing. And also, wait, Marguerite. Sorry, I'm jumping around a bit. You mentioned a thing right before that.
Alien 4. The hybrid.
Alien 4.
Yeah.
Alien Resurrection rules. I love that fucking movie. It is not.
Waste of ammo. Good. Must be a chick thing. Was like, oh, he was so good. That movie is made for Ron Perlman and for the slow badass walking off the ship moment that they all get. It's so cheesy and I love it so much.
Yes, it's like Firefly before Firefly got kind of an annoying pop culture.
Had that whole ensemble cast dynamic and yeah.
That, and it's gayer than shit.
Oh my god, is it ever?
Yes.
So gay. You've got Winona Ryder. I mean, like, listen, here's the thing. Is it a good movie? Fucking irrelevant, and I'll tell you why. You've got Winona Ryder as an android and Sigourney Weaver as an alien/human clone, and they've got lesbian tension, and she's getting bullied by Sigourney Weaver, who, you can tell, is having a ball in this fucking movie, getting to be, Ripley Six.
She's like, I finally get to act like somebody who has power, and she just ran with it.
It's incredible. Like it's not a good movie, but you've got swimming xenomorphs. You've got, the smoky voice of Michael Wincott delivering dialogue. Like it's just, you've got Brad Dourif as a weird little guy, which is
who smuggles
the
parts
best to ever
for
do
a
it.
weapon on his wheelchair and then reassembles them. And you've got Ron Perlman in his full Hannibal from A-Team chomp cigar routine. It's so good.
There's a bit in this when they've just had a close encounter with a bunch of face huggers and they're climbing up a ladder, and there's a spider in a web that Ron Perlman just goes, ah, and shoots the spider because he gets surprised. Which is my favorite disproportionate response to anything is, I'm going to shoot this spider. I'm
one of my all-time
yes,
favorite...
Yes, Evilanti, we are discussing Alien Resurrection.
Yes, indeed.
Absolutely.
One of my all-time favorite entirely random movie factoids is that apparently about halfway through shooting, Ron Perlman and Gary Durden had to be separated on set because they turned into 12-year-olds. They would just stand at the back and giggle and cause too much trouble. They were having too much fun.
What's that movie where they are trying to do covert ops in, I think it's Iran or Iraq, and they're the cover is they're going to film a science fiction movie. Argo. And there's that section where not Ron Perlman, John
Alan
Goodman.
and John Goodman, yes.
Are sneaking through the back of the scene in the movie. It was so fun. That's what I picture when I think of the two of them just sitting in the back trying to get away from something.
I picture John Goodman rolling a stealth check. I picture pizzicato violin playing and Flintstones toes. It's
all those TikToks to that one audio. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, honestly, Brad. Speaking of Brad Dourif, that guy, I feel like he might be the prince of character actors.
No. The prince of character actors is Mark Sheppard.
Right, Mark Sheppard, who,
that is my
if there
analogy
was...
for Alasdair's. I want him to be the Mark Sheppard of horror podcasting. I want him to show up, class up the joint, get killed, and leave you wanting more, right?
Lend a touch of sleazy gravitas. Honestly, Mark Sheppard, that guy, he fooled people into thinking that Supernatural might be a good show for a couple of seasons there, because Mark Sheppard's there doing cool dialogue, so it's oh shit, maybe it's how Matt Smith is so good at his job that he made everybody think that the Pandorica speech was actually really good from Doctor Who, because he says it with his whole chest, and then you actually look at the transcript of the thing and you're kind of
what the fuck is this?
I've seen worse monologues.
Yes.
I'm haunted by the fact that Mark Sheppard, like Brian Blessed, is a man for whom the phrase non-disclosure agreement has no meaning.
He's in all sorts of talk show.
He was on a podcast a little while for a long time about how great it is and how much fun it is and how much it's in line with the comic. And the host, who was actually Michael Rosenberg, who played Lex on Smallville, asked him, who are you playing? Without missing a beat, he goes, well, I'm playing Constantine. They can't call it Constantine because of the trademark shit, but I'm playing.
Fantastic. I just never met a non-disclosure agreement he couldn't disrespect. Brian Blessed, I feel like Brian Blessed invented yelling as a person. Anybody else doing it, I feel owes Brian Blessed royalties of some kind. That guy, I think my first exposure to Brian Blessed was the Kenneth Branagh Much Ado About Nothing movie. Because when I was a kid, we had that on VHS, and I wore that fucking tape out. And Brian Blessed in that movie,
much like The Mummy, is one of those bisexual awakening ground zero movies.
It is a bisexual singularity.
Yes.
Well, because you've got Emma Thompson and Kenneth Branagh in their prime face,
and Keanu Reeves and
in tight leather pants. Nothing wrong with that. Denzel Washington
is in it. There's just so many beautiful people. Yes.
You've got Michael Keaton titting around with Ben Elton. Neither of them look like they've taken a shower in 3 years. It's what's not to love. I know that it's not a serious adaptation of Shakespeare. I know that Kenneth Branagh is kind of, diet Shakespeare. I don't give a shit. That movie is joy and light. I love that adaptation.
And just the energy between Branagh and Thompson throughout that. The fact that there is such a clear undercurrent of, I am going to rip your fucking clothes off the second the cameras are off. Not if I don't rip yours off first.
Oh, exactly.
Just they spark off each other.
Well, and especially like Emma Thompson, like her monologue when she's in the chapel, and then when she says, "I would eat his heart in the marketplace," and you're just like, this is the coolest shit I've ever seen in my life. And like, as a small kid, I didn't understand the plot of Much Ado About Nothing. I knew that there were a lot of naked people. I knew that Keanu Reeves was there. My friend Michael Keaton, Batman, was riding an invisible horse, and like, I could kind of follow the plot. I didn't know that like they were going to call Kate Beckinsale a slut so hard she died from it. Like, there was so much stuff in that movie that I didn't get as a kid, that, you know, I knew that yelling, "I would eat his heart in the marketplace." I understood that one, and I saw Emma Thompson saying it. So that's pretty much all I needed.
Yeah.
Right?
No, there's several movies where it's like you can watch the performers forming a relationship as the cameras are rolling, because just the chemistry is so very... Mr. and Mrs. Smith, I'm sorry, that is absolutely the movie where the two of them got together, because you could see it live.
Yes.
I've never seen it. I need to. Like I think my favorite thing is the inverse of that, when you've got two leads who, like, I've had more chemistry with Club Sandwich, where I think my favorite thing for this is Top Gun, where, you know, you've got Tom Cruise and what I forget, I'm terrible, but the lead, his co-star in that, who is a lesbian in real life, and you can instantly tell that, like, both of them, it was just like, okay, well, test audiences wanted a sex scene, so I guess we got to do that. Okay. And then Take My Breath Away does so much heavy lifting. Like, that song is still such a fucking jam. Like, that comes on and it's like, yeah, like whatever else about Top Gun. I haven't seen the Maverick movie. Have either of you?
He has.
My dad is really into planes, and as a result, I learned quite a lot about planes full of death from an early age.
Oh, and one quick tangent. Wendy says Blade Runner, Ford and Young, negative chemistry.
Oh, completely.
Yeah, nothing.
Kelly McGillis.
Excellent point.
Kelly McGillis.
There we go.
Thank you very much.
And as a result, I learned at a very early age that the F-14 Tomcat has been nicknamed the Hangar Queen by the U.S. Navy, because it's gorgeous and it falls apart once you fly it long enough. And normally that's about 10 minutes.
You look at it funny.
And that's basically Maverick. The first two acts of it are actually a surprisingly great meditation on mortality and aging, and this massive, colossal dickhead being endlessly confronted with his colossal dickheadery. And there were a couple of points where I went...
Dickheadery is a great word.
There were a couple of points where I actually went, fuck, he's acting. It's been a while since he's acted. He's still quite good at it. There is this fascinating
90
moment.
more minutes happens?
He and another character literally sneak across a road. And on one side of the road, it's a serious discussion of mortality and heroism. And on the other side of the road, it's Fast and Furious with jets. And
fantastic.
The Fast and Furious with jet stuff is a good time, but the transition is so creaky. And God love him, Miles Teller is a charisma vacuum at the best of times. But
I don't understand how that guy keeps getting cast and stuff. Like, not to be, that sounds rude, but why him? Of all the bland white guys, why this one?
Right? And the scene honestly plays like someone's handed him a note that reads, "Miles, you have presented like an enormous tool for 2 acts of the movie. You might want to do something about that, son." And suddenly he's completely different. It's worth your time, because a lot of the time you'll be going, holy fucking shit, they actually did that with a plane. And sometimes, how are these actors not dead? And most commonly for me, Jesus, Cruise is finally okay with other people being taller than him on screen. This is very strange. But I wouldn't hurry.
Yeah.
I feel that. Honestly, what it is so oddly enough, I come from a military family. My folks both met in the Air Force, and my brother was in the military. I'm actually the only one who didn't go into the military. And apparently Top Gun, there is for those of you who don't know, there is at the actual Top Gun Academy, there is a $5 fine for any member of the Top Gun school who quotes the movie Top Gun.
Oh my
God.
God.
If you will, they'll ding you for it. It's a real problem over there. But it's incredible, because when my folks were stationed in Turkey in the 80s, before I was born, They had at this base in Turkey exactly one VHS tape and one little TV that could play it, and it was the movie Airplane. And
Oh God!
it's incredible, like people would, so, and it was in the rec room, so people would sort of come in, pour a cup of coffee, say the line as it's happening, walk out again, and it was just the one VHS copy. Fast forward, my brother went to the same base. Guess what was still there, right next to the TV?
No fucking way.
My hand to God, if I'm lying, I'm dying. Same beat to shit copy of the movie Airplane, which that's one of those movies that I feel like that was one of my first exposures to a gay person in a movie. That got to be a part was Leon in that movie, like getting extremely good. But yeah, so I didn't join the military for obvious reasons. But yeah.
Yeah, Top Gun is real. It's an actual flight school.
Yep.
Also,
yeah, it's
what you're recounting, I suspect either that is a very common occurrence or a member of the writers' team on For All Mankind was stationed on that base at one point. Because there is a very pivotal episode of For All Mankind where 3 astronauts are basically locked in a moon base for 90 days with one tape of the Bob Newhart show. And all they can do is watch it over and over and over and over again.
Oh, God.
That's when you go crazy.
Well, strangely enough, that's pretty much what happens.
Part of the plot, and then for the next season, as they're all stationed in different places, the running gag is every time they show up together, one of them goes, "Hey Bob," and
oh man, I feel like honestly, the gold standard for me with like space station. Sorry, I'm Sean Connery. Space station movies. Space station thing is probably Red Dwarf. Which honestly, I saw that at a really formative age on the Sci-Fi Channel, along with MST3K. Anytime that I check back in on what's going on the Sci-Fi Channel right now, it's a complete horror show.
What is going on? It's like all nature documentaries and conspiracy theories, and I'm like,
and briefly in the 2000s, ECW. Sci-Fi is. They really blew a 5-1 lead, I think, because it was kind of all you had back in the day if you had basic cable for watching stuff like that. Yeah. I feel like once they got rid of MST3K, it was all downhill.
I somehow didn't get to I still haven't got to very much of the Netflix seasons of MST3K, but the phrase General Military Industrial Complex, meet Dr. Science Woman is carved into the front of my brain, like. But are you okay? And
yes.
Oh my God. This is honestly the thing with MST3K is I feel like I saw a few of them. I liked them okay. I like that Jonas Falick. He seems like a nice boy. What's incredible is how much back in the day sorry, this is my fucking I'm your grandma hour, but back in the day, the fact that on forums it was considered like the biggest party foul to ask Joel versus Mike. Like it would, if you asked Joel versus Mike, you would get banned from forums because they were like, don't fucking bring up that debate again. We have peace in our time. Like it's been, been 3 days since somebody had their family's honor, impugned over this debate. And honestly, like, I think time, I don't know, like I think I'm partial to Joel just because that was who I started with. I feel like 100% of the time, whichever host you started with is going to be your favorite host.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of like your favorite Doctor Who. A lot of it is when did you first really get into watching it type thing, which is why I will love Tom Baker forever. Just because
completely.
Right.
My first Doctor Who was. Yeah.
Circling back to Red Dwarf real quick and further to your comment about how, forum wars are still very much a thing. There is a small but perfectly formed section of Red Dwarf fandom that fucking hates me. And I am so proud of that fact.
Why?
About 15 years ago...
How can I want to hate you specifically? That's... Okay, please proceed.
About 15 years ago, I did an article for Sci-Fi Now. And they asked for the 10 best episodes of Red Dwarf. And I may have picked 8 of the 10 from the first 2 seasons. And there's like 3 guys on this proto-Reddit forum holding forth about how disgusting it is that these 2 seasons where the show had no budget and it was just like a Radio 4 sitcom in space it's just wrong. It's just wrong. Why is he doing this? Why is he pointing up the classical alliterations?
Some people need to have no budget in order to create. They have to be forced into that level of innovation.
And
yes,
I mean, I unfortunately sometimes still embody the John Mulaney routine about running for mayor of nothing. But this is one of the this is one of the earliest examples where I looked at it and went, I think you can cry harder, fuck faces.
I bought a chocolate bar from that article. You cannot harm me. Yes.
That article bought me coffee. Did it buy you coffee?
Impossible to say if it's bad. That's first of all, excellent work, pissing those nerds off. I mean, fucking nerds. Like fucking that's nerds. Come on.
We are fucking nerds.
Unbelievable. This is also my thing with like limitations. Is I think this is why I don't know. In terms of having way too much budget, so many people can make a very expensive looking piece of shit by having way too much money to throw at a thing. Where I feel like, I mean, because obviously like the CG versus, practical effects thing is kind of a boondoggle because like CG is fine if it's used well, sort of thing. But I think that's why, are you guys familiar with what happened to the 2011 prequel to The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing?
No.
Okay, so this is the worst thing that's ever happened in the history of the world. So this was, they were making the prequel to The Thing, right? And it takes place at the Norwegian base, like 15 minutes prior to the start of the movie. And the effects team for the Thing prequel, these are like lifelong fucking fans of the Thing, right? Like these are people who like, Rob Bottin's makeup like got them into doing this thing. This is their dream project. And you can look online and see they made incredible effects for this thing, like huge, incredible practical effects. And they shot it. And everything looked great. And then some soulless wraith at the film company was like, I hate joy, and I've decided to actually in post cover everything up in digital. We're gonna go back through. We're gonna cover everything up with digital effects. It's gonna be CG all the way. Don't even worry about it. And you watch the movie now, it looks like straight dookie because they decided to add CG over these incredible practical effects. I personally feel that if you were a makeup effects artist on this movie and saw this happen to your work, you are allowed at least one free murder in your life.
Seriously.
Like, I cannot even imagine seeing, and it looks god-awful, but I mean, this is my thing, is like, without CG, I mean, John Carpenter, like, one of the reasons that The Thing is so good is he's, what do you call it, a competent director who, like, knows how to shoot a thing. And so, sure, we've got this effect that looks like an upside down head with, tendrils coming out of it and, looks like a crab, crawling away from a thing. Yep. And in the hands of a bad director, it's going to look like a piece of shit, effect that looks bad and fake crawling away from you. But John Carpenter was able to be like, oh, we've got these effects from an incredible kid who made all these things. Okay, I should use lighting and shoot it from a certain angle and make it look like that's the reason it looks like $1 million, because it genuinely fucking looks like a head going, hey, how you doing? And like crawling away from people. And this to me is, again, like if you've got all the CG in the world, making it look like actual light hitting actual objects that I can see is going to look better than CG every day.
And now there's this new technology. I think you may have heard about it. Like it's 1899, right? The same studio that's doing The Dark. They've basically made all of our Fahrenheit 451 horror shows come true, and they have built set-sized LCDs. They are projection screens that wrap around the entire set so that the actors are reacting to actual scenery and lighting and motion instead of just acting to green screen. There's a great little documentary clip about it we just watched.
Yeah.
Well, this particular show takes place on a ship. So they've built the prow, like the big main room of the ship with all the screens all the way around it. So it's the water moving and, people coming around corners and you see the background. And the lighting on it is amazing because you can actually put the lighting exactly where you want it in context. I'm really curious to see more like of this making of kind of stuff.
Yeah, this sounds like it could go either way for me because on one
we're
level,
like this close to Dream Park at that point. We're almost there, right?
Right, we're so close. And this is my thing is like, because you watch a thing like Jurassic Park, and obviously the way that they got these incredible performances out of the actors is that they found real, actual dinosaurs.
Yes, of course.
And filmed them eating people and running around. Those effects.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the reason that movie looks so fucking incredible still.
Have you heard the rumor that there is a Fast and the Furious reference to it? And apparently there's one sequence in the movie where they have to very quickly get a distance, and somebody says he knows a guy named Toretto.
I can't buy into this. I can't quite believe it. But I know like the studio's been quite upfront about the fact that they have two franchises that work, and Jurassic Park is one, and Fast and Furious is the other. But I've seen a couple of people.
We're just gonna see them all riding dinosaurs at some point, right?
I mean, is this not fucking Chris Pratt like riding a motorcycle with his Velociraptor friends? Like it's one of the Velociraptors being like, "Yeah, we're family" in the like Fast and the Furious voice. It's fucking, I'm throwing my pork pie hat down in disgust.
Oh, jumping over a brontosaurus or something.
I now need to rewatch all of these movies and mentally have the Velociraptor going, "Yeah, see? In your face, see?" In
a zoot suit, right, while they're at it.
Oh my god. It's, honestly, like Jurassic World, I think I've only seen the first Jurassic World movie and then was like, I'm okay. You know what I mean? Like I'm all right. But I think one of the things that drives me crazy about every Jurassic Park movie after Jurassic Park, the thing that they missed out on, and I know that this is a tangent, but a thing that bugs me is that I feel like I'm going to say a thing and see if it's true, right? I think a thing just occurred to me, and it might be total bullshit, but let's see.
Let's manifest this into the universe.
So I feel like Jurassic Park doesn't work as a movie as well if you don't have one scene, which is the first scene of them just looking at some brontosauruses and having their fucking minds blown.
Yeah,
right?
There has to be that moment of awe.
Yeah, exactly. And everybody is pitch perfect in that thing because you've got Sam Neill just like shaking and Laura Dern, you know, like even the lawyer guy is like, oh, that's a fucking brontosaurus. And so every other movie, they're like no selling dinosaurs. Like there's like in Lost World, you've got, and this is incredible because I rewatched all of them recently. The team of mercenaries that show up on the Lost World to like scoop up some dinosaurs and bring it back to San Diego. You've got a guy who brings a Walkman with headphones to the island of the fucking dinosaurs. Like, are you gonna be bored, my friend? Like, you're gonna be looking at fucking T-Rexes and you're like, I need my tunes. I say that like I wouldn't do that now. And bring my headphones. But yeah, like that sense of awe, it's almost like Jurassic World as a movie is like dog shit for a few reasons to me. But one of the big ones is that there's a cynicism there that's like, the thesis of the movie is that like audiences, they're not impressed by dinosaurs anymore. We've got Verizon Wireless presents Indominus Rex, and it's like we got to have bigger and better dinosaurs. And it's like the movie itself using that as an excuse to not fucking give you a good movie, where it's just that movie hates you if you like that movie Jurassic Park. It wants to spit in your fucking face for liking that movie.
That's why the first one is still the best, is because there is that sense of, behold this new frontier, this thing that has never been done before. Yeah.
Like, and honestly, and I'm also prone to nostalgia. Like, I thought that was one of the first movies I remember seeing in theaters. And I think, I don't know, without that sense of awe or that sense of holy, that's a fucking dinosaur.
It's why the song works so well,
Yeah. Which, speaking of music, all-timer John Williams score, like that, so good.
God, we could spend a whole hour doing that. And then we'd have to do it again with Hans Zimmer. And then we'd have to do it again with the guy, Giovanni, who always puts the dad jokes in his song titles.
Michael Giacchino.
In his track titles, which I love.
I don't know from this. What are the dad jokes?
My God. Hold on. Let me go.
Giacchino has
Let me go to
track in every single one of his scores where the title is World's Worst Something.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always different. It's, I think for the Batman, it's World's Worst Translator. For another, it's World's Worst Roommate. And it always does that. There is no ship pun that escapes his Star Trek scores. I think there's genuinely a track on one of them called Ship Happens.
All of his track titles are these horrible, wonderful, terrible puns.
Oh, that's outstanding. This is actually my previous job years ago before I became a freelance editor. I worked at a .com company that ran a website that I had to run this website called Flyer Talk, which is like airline and aviation news related. The comment section is the dankest pit of hell you can imagine. Imagine people who are super excited about airlines and talking about airlines and nuts. But my favorite part of the day was I had to come up with slug lines for every article, and I had to come up with puns every single day. And I think the one that I'm proudest of was that there was a double-decker plane that had a pipe burst in the bathroom on the upstairs thing, and they had to land the plane. And on the bottom level, and my slug line was piped down up there. So
yes.
I think that was my
line.
That was my biggest crime for the time that I got into a Twitter beef with Colonial Williamsburg on Twitter. That was as part of Fodor's travel. That was fun. But anyway.
Camp Cretaceous is in fact the best thing to come out of the Jurassic Park series. Have you seen that cartoon?
No,
it's fantastic. It's kids who get stuck on the island.
And it starts off as a narrative that runs parallel to Jurassic World. Look, we've got Chris Pratt, just fucking deal, okay? And then it just gets progressively wilder. Like, they end up in the desert, they end up in, like, a snowy environment. One of them befriends a baby dinosaur. It is ridiculously well done.
It's really good. It's much better.
Oh, I gotta check this out.
Any of the Chris Pratt movies.
I've been like jonesing. I honestly, like, for dinosaur content, have either of you been watching that Prehistoric Planet thing with motherfucking David Attenborough on Apple TV?
We were supposed to do that last week, but we had no time last week.
We had our
plan was to watch that and build the Lego Tallneck set we just bought, and then we just had no time.
Oh yeah, that's honestly I've been watching it with Sarah, and there's a bit that is my favorite thing in any nature show, which is that there's like a huge dinosaur doing a mating dance for another dinosaur. Like, imagine like a T-Rex, and his dance is that he has the tiniest arms in the world, and he does this stately little dance with his little tiny dinosaur hands, and he's a little man. And then she just, fuck you, kid. Like, she walks away, and he's left there, and everybody online was like, "It's okay, King. You did a great dance."
The Mug Smasher.
The Mug Smasher General. He's a terrible man, but he's got a stuffed carrot, so that's exciting.
Nice.
What was that? You were saying a thing? You had a thing
about a stuffed carrot? No, I think it was back before that.
Although that has reminded me of a thing which I did want to put in front of you because I think you might really dig it. I found a very, very weird collection of found footage YouTube videos, liminal horror YouTube videos called The Back Rooms, and they do
The Back Rooms.
They're done by a 16-year-old kid who you will hate inside 2 minutes. You'll be like, "Fuck you, child! How dare you!" But I spent the first 3 videos watching this because they're all about people making their way through these terrifying kind of empty convention spaces, which are just wrong and too big and and not deserted enough. And I spent the first 3 going, how the fuck did he film these? And then I realized
I'm so excited.
They're all CGI, and it's all done through a VHS camera filter. So it covers all the CGI problems perfectly.
So they're contemporary spaces that have just been de-aged.
Yeah, it is annoyingly great. I'm
bless you for this.
I'm about 6 in, and he's done 9 so far. And the disappointing straight-to-DVD movie has to be at most 2 years out.
Yeah, that's what side note, I finally recently watched that movie they made about Slender Man. Did y'all see the Slender Man movie?
Oh, was this the one they had to completely hack the end off because it went wrong?
Yep, this was. They finally made that. Anyway, that movie is oddly enough just boring. The problem is that it's boring. This is the most unforgivable thing. But this is honestly found footage. I think is one of my favorite things because I feel like it gets a bad rap because it's very easy for some yuts with a camera to just make a really bad found footage movie.
Yeah.
One that really holds up to me is the Blair Witch Project, which we rewatched it recently. What's incredible about that movie is how much that movie is mostly people screaming at each other in the woods and having a bad time.
Yep.
And it's honestly one. I love that this movie was such a cultural phenomenon because so much of it was just, boy, getting lost in America would suck now, huh? Like, because it's the idea that we've civilized like we've got roads and stuff. We've got 7-Elevens. You can't get lost in America. And the idea that, I don't know, like I feel like being able to get lost in a place is such an underrated horror beat.
Yeah, well, especially think about it. GPS is a thing. Getting lost takes effort on certain continents these days.
You would think. I get lost without trying. I get lost so easily. But yeah, so the back rooms. Yeah.
The other one,
bless you,
which I've been meaning to chat to you about, is it's not quite a found footage movie. It's a kind of faux documentary called Savage Land.
Oh my God, Savage Land is so intense.
Which is it's about a usually horrible murder case where a single guy is accused of essentially murdering an entire town, 54 people across the coast. Right. Oh, Bert, you magnificent orange bastard!
He was trying to get at the fish tank, and I had to set him to rights.
But food? No, Albert. No.
no. There we go. Oh, God, spilled some water. Anyway, I'm so sorry. You were saying?
Yes.
But yeah, it's about this guy who was accused of murder. There's this horrific murder rampage, like 54 people dead in one town in one night, and this guy is obviously clearly framed for it. He's an illegal immigrant. It's on the border, so all the police are racist as shit, and
obviously.
And then someone realizes he had a camera with him, and he took photos as he ran across the town at night. And he's got photos of what really killed people. And the second half of the movie becomes the timeline of what really happened based on his photos. And it is so fucking good.
It's really good.
I gotta check this out.
Yeah,
this sounds fucking incredible.
Very, very, very good.
Man, honestly, like the last found footage thing that I finally saw Lake Mungo. Have y'all seen Lake Mungo? Oh. So good. It's so good.
How many days did it take for that to leave your brain?
Still there.
Yeah,
still there.
mine too.
I find the fact that I took so long to see it, I'm deeply shamed. But honestly, it makes me think of, have either of y'all read A Head Full of Ghosts by Paul Tremblay?
Yes.
No.
Where it's sort of, there's a possession, and there's a young girl who may or may not actually be possessed, or she could have a weird brain thing, but it might be a possession. And I've realized that, like, ambiguous hauntings, I think, might be one of my favorite genres of a thing, where you kind of can't totally prove, because if it's like a fucking, ghoul popping out and yelling at you, then that's pretty obvious. But I don't know. I feel like looking at the audience and going, I don't know, what do you think, while a haunting is happening? This is, my favorite thing.
There's a particular beat. Lake Mungo, real quick, is an Australian movie about a family who lose one of their kids in a drowning accident. And it's about what happens next. And there's a particular beat in there where you get the spooky photo moment, and then you get the spooky photo debunked. And then it does something I've never seen before, which is it goes back to the spooky photo and goes, no, not that spooky anomaly.
This spooky anomaly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love a double fake out. Honestly, though, I think the god tier found footage for me, y'all have seen Ghost Watch, right?
Oh yes.
Alasdair kind of exists because of Ghost Watch.
Fuck yes. Yes, honestly. Okay, for people watching the stream who might not be aware of this, real children have actual honest to Christ PTSD because of this movie called Ghost Watch. Which, Alasdair, you should take this. Can you? You should explain the movie Ghost Watch.
And you should check if Bert is supposed to be into the plant.
Should Bert be eating that plant?
Not strictly speaking. Hey, Birdie. Come here, bud. Okay, buddy boy. There we go.
Look at that magnificent chunk.
This is a large man who is now on a chair.
Who's
He
feisty?
is.
Ghostwatch is presented absolutely straight-facedly, and this is how it was broadcast. As
Ghostwatch is a modern War of the Worlds.
Yes, absolutely.
It was something. It was fictional, but it was presented in a way that was factual, that caught a lot of people out.
And it's 3 B-list BBC celebrities going to a haunted house live to see if anything happens.
Craig Charles is one of the reporters in this.
Yeah, like, and it's fucking, honestly, the way, in terms of looking for stuff in a frame and being like, oh no shit, there's a ghost. If you go, like, once you watch the movie and you go back, you'll see reflections and stuff. And honestly what it does is it takes the idea of like, this is happening. Oh no, it's happening actually back at the TV station where, people are trying to monitor the situation. The fact that so many kids had this reaction, I feel like, I wonder what, and I think I was talking about this on Twitter a bit ago, I wonder what is freaking the babies out in the last, 15 years? Like, what are those shared cultural moments of, like, oh, hold on, I gotta let Bertimus Cat out. 1 moment.
No worries. What are those kind of shared cultural...
Touchstones, almost.
Touchstones, but with the emotional...
But yeah,
Touchstones, but with, the emotional connotation of difficult or traumatizing or transformative sorts of actions.
Because the tunnel scene in Willy Wonka, that's a thing that we can all sort of look at and be like, yeah, I had a bad time when I was about 8 years old watching that.
Yeah.
But because now where are the babies getting spooked? With streaming, a really integral thing for me growing up was the Video Shack thing because I had a very, very Christian mom who was, and also I had constant nightmares, and every other night I was knocking on my mom's door because I had nightmares because my stupid ass decided to watch another horror movie. But it was such an integral experience of wandering around the local Video Shack and looking at the VHS covers of the thing and being, because you could see the cover of Dead Alive or something with a little skull in someone's mouth, or Hellraiser, and you couldn't watch the movie yet, but your little brain could sort of fill in the blanks for what this scary thing might be. And that's not, are there kids with thumbnails on Netflix getting freaked out?
The thing that's important about both of those experiences, Wemdy says for people of my generation, it was Threads. I don't know what Threads is.
Threads.
Yes. Threads was a hour-and-a-half long TV play about the day in Sheffield the nuclear bombs fall. And it starts off at a civil defense exercise, if I remember correctly, and everyone is very arrogant and complacent. And then the bombs hit. And then you just watch people die very, very, very slowly.
But what was critical about War of the Worlds and Ghostwatch, which is the challenge of critical mass of contemporary viewing. And I think because so much of genre entertainment in particular has been shifted to streaming or to marathoning, where you get a whole season of it at a time, you don't get that critical mass of everybody engaging with one thing at the same time. So it would have to be some sort of, it's more likely to be something like a live performance or like something like a news broadcast or a real life event, to be honest.
Something that everybody can respond to in real time as the thing is happening.
Yes. Right, exactly. And unfortunately, that means it would probably have to be a real world horrific or tragic event. And that, of course, has a very different emotional resonance. Vibe. Yeah.
Although, in terms of sort of wide viral human events, have either of you seen the movie Truth or Dare? This is incredible to me. So this movie was literally made because the head of the studio said to the maker, "What about Truth or Dare? You know that game? Make a horror movie about that." And then they had to craft this whole fucking movie based on some like cigar chomping exec who was like, and so they had to do that. And the idea was that, it's like a curse that you have to pass on to other people. And the movie ends, sorry for spoilers for those of you who've been dearly wanting to watch the movie Truth or Dare, is that somebody like broadcasts it on the internet so that everybody who is like hovering around all of their phones and TVs and computers gets transmitted this thing, and oh no, everybody's got the Truth or Dare virus that gives them a Snapchat filter, like they're like this huge like Grinch smile thing. Anyway, terrible fucking movie, but I anything that sort of relies on like mimetic, I don't know. Yeah, that's kind of what you want.
That mimetic transmission has become very much more of a thread, I think, in horror lately.
Speaking of Pontypool.
Hey!
Right? Because we never step away from our phones.
One thing which does strike me as being very close to that. The shared cultural experience of Jordan Peele movies.
It's a fucking event.
Right? It just when the first trailer for Nope hit, about half my timeline was like, "Oh, I have been waiting for this shit."
Right?
Completely. Like that's kind of what I love. I mean, like honestly, the fact that Jordan Peele made a movie so fucking good that now it was like, oh, we're gonna watch everything this guy makes forever, and it's gonna be a big fucking cultural event.
Yeah.
Like, God, honestly, the experience of watching Get Out in a little theater in Burbank at like 4:00 in the afternoon on a Thursday, fucking packed house, watching an audience respond to the ending of Get Out when his friend steps out of the cop car, like, I think that might be one of my favorite movie-going experiences. Either that or the time that back in the day I saw the movie Thor in theater, which was, I think, the last time I watched a Marvel movie in theater. And, Chris Hemsworth comes on screen with his huge, beautiful hip bones, and he's shirtless. And everybody in the audience kind of as one goes, and then in the ensuing silence, somebody's like dad was just like, I'd fuck him. And it was the funniest thing I've ever heard in my life, was just this random Jimmy Buffett listening ass dad just blurting I'd fuck him about.
Like those fantastic videos that still surface at Avengers, where the portals start to open, where the rest of the crew comes through, and there's that gigantic audience pop.
Yeah, audience pops are underrated. I think that's one of the things I miss most about actually like going to theaters, because the last movie I saw in theater before the pandemic, which I went with my buddy Fuzz, and we went and saw Cats in 20.
Oh, you poor fool!
You have
in 2019.
Abject condolences.
It was incredible. The experience of watching Cats in theater was incredible because it was the movie Cats, but also because we were sat next to a group of 50-something ladies who I wish nothing but the best for. This was the target audience for Cats 2019. They had a great time. They laughed at all the important parts. They cried at memory. And it was incredible just like having the experience of like contrasted, like watching the movie Cats 2019, feeling total ego death, total brain melt, and here are people just laughing and having a great time and enjoying it the way a movie might be enjoyed that wasn't Cats 2019. It was the most jarring mood whiplash I've ever experienced.
I would be doing that whole, have I fallen into an alternate dimension? Am I seeing the same thing that they're seeing?
You would hand me your phone and you would have typed, "Are we dead?" on the screen.
Yeah. Also, Pezzy, yes, absolutely, I did burn my eyes out. This was not only that. For Rank and Vile, I watched it in theater, and then later on, I did a Twitch stream for my podcast Rank and Vile that somebody found the cut of the movie where everybody still had
CGI.
Where everybody still had human hands. So I did a sketchy live stream of that while I was cooking dinner once, which I still get roasted for this by my household because I was like carrying my laptop around, handling raw chicken with the other hand and cooking. And it was like, have you considered don't do that? Like you are you're like a mean parody of a millennial right now, trying to do your little live stream while anyway, it was but the cats had human hands. The cats had human hands. We had to, I care about journalistic integrity. I had to do this.
The cats have human hands. I care about journalistic integrity.
Just that entire movie, the only thing you could see on Judi Dench's face is cut the fucking check.
Right.
Ian McKellen too. You could tell it was just the both of them fucking chain smoking. Like I did Richard III. You know that. Like, this is...
Why am I here?
And Elba, bless him, going, fuck it, I could make his cat sexy. Be all right.
I had to hang out with James Corden in catering. This is truly a career low.
Oh my god. Why does he keep getting cast in everything? Why?
He's got compromise on somebody. He must.
He has to. I can't.
We are now so far away from the two James Corden performances I will defend. Even I'm like, no, no, don't want.
Mm-hmm.
Which are?
The History Boys, in which he and everyone else is very good. Although I'm increasingly convinced Corden is the wrong cast member to get a career out of that. And basically everyone else in there should have been as big as he has become. And the episodes of Doctor Who he was in.
That was
where somehow...
The Lodger.
Yeah, where somehow they kind of beat the James Corden out of him. It's like before the cameras roll, Moffat takes a phone book to his hands and goes, are you gonna behave, you little fuck? Yes! I'll find pathos! You fucking will. Roll the cameras.
It's hard being the PA who has a spritz bottle every time he starts being like pulling a James Corden, like, no, stop it. Just, like, actually, has to act like a person. Yeah, he was great in The Lodger. Like that's a high point in that season.
Nice. We have been going for almost an hour and a half, so we should probably find a place to bring this into lands. And as predicted, well, we talked a little bit about music, and then it's cool. Movies and horror, and that thing that we do happens, which is we talk to very talented, creative friends about amazing, talented things they are doing. So speaking of which, what is new with you as far as what you were doing?
What are you working on other than ensuring Bert doesn't murder your remaining skull mug?
It's a fucking full-time job. He was okay. First of all, I need you guys to know what he was doing. We have a big circular cylindrical fish tank that they keep trying to get into, Bert and Calamity. So we got a little wicker basket that is a square shape that we put over the top of it. Bert was trying to sit on top of the wicker basket like a little gargoyle, and his orange ass is going to knock this thing over. I can. It's like a Final Destination death. I can see it. I know it's going to happen. So this is, it's a full-time job. But the other stuff that I'm doing is that right now I am writing the first season of an audio drama for my podcast network. The tentative title right now is Body Melt Blues. We're doing it's me and my buddy Josh Copeland, and we're writing, it's a cyberpunk hard-boiled noir where
fuck yes.
People's bodies in this town keep bursting into flames and melting, and generally their body mods are killing them, and nobody can figure out why. And so this detective who gets hired by somebody, by an anonymous benefactor, but it's a job, so they do it.
That sounds so good.
Yeah. So they have to come to town and figure that out. So we're working on that. Aside from that, I'm also just working. I'm doing so much freelance editing all the time, all day and all night. But that's mostly what I'm doing right now. I have a couple of short stories that are going to be coming out that I get to announce soon.
Yay!
And they're disgusting and full of body horror, and I'm really looking forward to those being out in the world. It's a bad goopy time. But yeah, that's pretty much what I got going. And then also for my podcast, Rank and Vile. This week we are covering Sam Raimi's Darkman, so that's very exciting. I've been in a Raimi mood lately because I got that Evil Dead video game, the multiplayer.
Have you seen? Gimmick. Well, you don't watch Marvel movies, so you haven't seen Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
Not yet, but I've heard that he goes full beast mode. Sam Raimi
on every Raimi conceit that you can think of happens in that movie.
Maximum Sam.
Fantastic. That's all I want, is for a camera to be flying up people's noses and for all manner of horrors to be happening. This is also the thing with Sam Raimi, is like, I feel like the problem is that I can't go back and watch Drag Me to Hell because of how fucking awful the Roma representation is in it.
Yeah.
But I like that at the very least that he was able to jump from that, like Mario jumping off of Yoshi, who falls into a chasm, into like, okay, but I do like doing horror though. Like I would like to keep doing, because like Spider-Man 3, I feel like nothing can hurt him now. You make Spider-Man 3 and I guess only Spider-Man 3 can hurt you now. But yeah. So I gotta check that out.
Yeah,
Definitely.
he truly cannot be harmed by conventional weaponry.
And you know
It's
exactly.
kind of
I mean, you can make the list of all the things you're gonna get when you go into a Sam Raimi movie, right? You're gonna get distorted, strange faces and distorted, strange faced books. You're gonna get large packs of things running around and screaming and doing strange zoomy in camera angles. You're gonna do comedic, weird eyeball battles. There will be a Bruce Campbell cameo. There will be something that happens after the end credit smash cut. You know, all of those things are present. Yes.
And he also very clearly sits Danny Elfman down and goes, "Hey, remember that thing you did where you didn't behave? Do that." Because there is a pivotal moment in the score where two characters fight using different Beethoven symphonies, and it's amazing. So fucking cool.
It's really good.
Fan-fucking-tastic. I'm pleased. Like I'm a huge Sam Raimi, Danny Elfman. Specifically, like I don't know if you've ever checked out his like non-soundtrack stuff, just like him composing. He's insofar as I think of myself as someone who composes or does music stuff, it's like him and Angelo Badalamenti that are like the
Social Network score just completely sneaks up on you. You never would have expected something to be like that from Elfman, but it's like.
Wait, Social Network. I thought that was Trent Reznor who did
was
Social
it
Network.
Trent?
That was Reznor.
Okay, I'm getting it confused.
Oh, okay. I've never seen it because I was kind of like a Facebook movie.
I don't like the movie, but the music was really good.
Nothing wrong with that. I also love Trent Reznor a whole lot. But anyway, so that's what I've got going on. So Rank and Vile, we're doing. I kind of want to do more Sam Raimi movies generally. So Darkman, if any watchers of the stream have never seen Darkman, it is disgusting, and Liam Neeson is there, and you'll have a great time.
Oh, it is the least well-behaved Liam Neeson has been in his entire movie career.
That's true.
Yeah, fully off the shits.
God, it's been a long time I saw that. This has been absolutely delightful. Thank you so much for joining us. We will make sure that all the links, the correct links to find all of your various things and stuffs are in the show notes by all means. Any parting thoughts?
Y'all are the fucking greatest. This was wonderful.
Greatest.
Thank you for having me and Bird on. Bird, the problem is he's so elusive. Like he'll pop into a thing, but then he's gone, and that just it's the mistake. You want to
haven't paid for him. He's just giving a little bit of FaceTime, and then that's it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
all right, everybody. Yeah. We are going to take a little quick break here and say goodnight to Lillian. Thank you very much for joining us. Get a stretch. Your drink of water and all that good stuff, and we'll do some shenanigans when we come back.
Yep. Later, folks.